Hello everybody, Perry here, and I am No One You Know for StoryToPixel.com. Today, I'd like to talk about this little puppy. This is the Kodak Pro SP360 Action Cam. What it is a little camera that has a very wide lens on it. It shoots 360 degrees by about 210 degrees or 214 degrees. Now, this little puppy, let's go to the website. This is, like I said, Kodak SP360. And on the specs, this gets interesting. It's 16.36 effective megapixels, so it's pretty good. And but this is the important part. 3264 by 3264 still image. That's with everything in it. If you want to shoot video with this thing, the biggest it can go is 1440 by 1440 at 30 frames, but we are going to be using it for HDR. 3264 by 3264. That's going to give you a nice setup. Now you'll notice it's square, and you're probably asking, why is this important to have a square image? Well, what it is this is a true fisheye. So the output is actually a circle. And of course, since you have to put it in some sort of square or rectangle, it ends up being 3264 by 3264 pixels. This is a true fisheye lens. So that's why you have the black here in the corners. And what I use this for is I'm going to show you how to make HDRIs. And what you want to do is you put it on a place like on a tripod, and you can use the app and you can take pictures. Now, the cool thing is you're not just taking a picture, you can take a bracket of pictures using I think it's 6 stops that they do, plus 3 and minus 3, so that would be 7 stops if you include the 0 EV. So the EV, they say, is close to a stop, and you can see that right there. So okay, we're back at home, and I have taken the JPEGs and pulled them out of the SP360 camera. Now, I did not do that using the app that they have for Windows and Mac. The reason being is if you output it that way, it seems like it's a 1920 by 1080 file. And these right here are actually 3264 by 3264. So let's take a quick look at these, what we've got here. And it looks like number 10 and number 11 are the same. So I'm going to take and create a folder called NG. And then I'm going to take number 10 and put in there. Take a look at the rest of them. And that's just too washed out. So I'm going to take 17, put it in there. And right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 stops to play with. Okay, so this is what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Photoshop, and we're going to go up to File, Automate, Merge to HDR Pro. We're going to create an HDRI out of all of these. We're going to browse to the folder. We're going to pick those files. Now, in an ideal world, we would be working with RAW files, but the SP360 puts out JPEGs, so it's not going to be as good, but it's going to be good enough for our purposes. Okay, this is what we have now. First things first, make sure the mode is set to 32-bit. You want the most information possible. Right now, if you look here, what you got is not that much information, to tell you the truth. So if you sit there and turn off this one, all of a sudden it opens up and there's a ton of information in there. So I am going to leave off this last one. So we're just going to concentrate on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stops right here. All right, so all you have to do is, that's basically it there, and then just hit tone and ACR. ACR is Adobe Camera Raw, and I am running CC 2014. If you have CS6 or earlier, you're not going to have this. You're going to have there's another way of doing it. I am not going to cover it in this, so look into it. Now let it do its magic. And this is Adobe Camera Raw. So we're going to take the quick and easy way out of this. I am just going to go up here and I'm going to go to auto. That's nice. If you want, and you can set your own up and you can play with the exposure, contrast, highlights, and all these other ones right here. I'm just going to leave it, for brevity's sake, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Okay, I'm going to hit OK down here. And this is an HDR PSD. I am going to save this out immediately. This is going to be my quote-unquote camera negative. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to save this as, this is Pasadena City Hall. So I'm just going to call it City Hall, and I'm going to call it the original. All right, save it in the same place. Boom. Takes a while down here. There's a lot of information. We're going to end up with about a half a gig's worth. Okay, 483 megabytes. Okay, now a couple of things. First off, I am going to save. I'm not going to do any work on the PSD. If I want to go back into it and edit the settings, I just go over here to Camera Raw Filter and under Smart Filters, double click it. There you go. I can change everything and hit OK to save it again. Okay, so I am going to now save as OpenEXR. Now, what is OpenEXR? Did I keep it? Yes, OpenEXR was developed by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. It's basically a way to supporting 16 bit per channel floating point values. It's a very good way and a huge dynamic range of 30 stops of exposures. It's a good way of transferring files back and forth between programs, especially 3D programs. So this right here, we're going to use it for Cinema 4D for HDR. Okay, let me go ahead and hide this. All right, so OpenEXR, save that. I'm compression none. Now I am going to close my PSD, keep it nice and safe. Done everything I wanted to do to that. Now the EXR, I'm going to open and leave it as a transparency. Now, first thing you'll notice, the original file was 3264 by 3264. When we were, when it stacked everything, it did a little trimming, and it's now 3260 by 3254. And it's kind of weird because it sometimes ends up being a little different each time. I don't know why. Oh, it could be my imagination though. Now, we're going to take care of it here. We're also going to take care of something else, and I'll show you in a second. So first, let's make this 3260 by 3254. And I'm just going to take the canvas size and make it 30. Okay. Now everything should be set 3254. And now what I want to do is I want to take the filter and I want to put a distort polar coordinates and hit OK. Now let me go back, show you something. Filter, distort polar coordinates. Make sure it's polar to rectangle, because this is considered a polar rectangle to be rectangular. And you'll see in a second. This is the rectangular file. Now, we have an issue here. The camera was sitting on one of these tiles. These tiles are not flat. They're not even. So what has happened is the floor was at an angle, and this is how it translates it. How do I get around that? Well, it's pretty easy. I'm going to blow it up a little bit, and I'm just going to pull a line out. And what I do is this is the horizon line where the floor meets the rest of the building or the outside. So I'm going to pull a guide out to here. And right now I'm just slopping them in. Okay. You'll see in a second. I'm going to go in there and really fine tune it. Okay. So I'm just going to zoom in all the way. And let's see, try to figure out, okay, this needs to go up. So about right there. Now, what I want to do is I want to set it right on the pixel. There we go, 0.0. Okay, go down, same thing. I want to keep it nice and even, just for giggles. And maybe you think I'm being too picky, but boom. Okay, so this one's like down a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Let's put it original 270. Okay, and take this one here. Okay, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is take the marquee tool, and I am going to mark where the guides are. Now, sometimes it gets in there perfectly, as in pixel perfect, and sometimes it does not. It'll be off a pixel. And I want to try to see, it's off a pixel there, so that's easily solved. I'm just going to zoom in. And then I'm going to go select, transform selection, and I'm just going to scoot this over, match it up. Scoot this in, same thing here. So now everything should be fine, just checking this, don't need to, but there we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to set the selection. And right down here it says it's 2608 by 2607. Not even, so I need to bring the height up 1 pixel. I'm just going to go in here and just going to slop it real fast. Looks like it's, yeah, let's go ahead and do that 1 pixel. Select, transform selection, and I'm going to go ahead and move it up 1 pixel. There we go. And we have 2608 and 2608. Hit enter. I'm just going to, just for giggles, get rid of the guides. And everything still looks good at 2608, 2608. I am again going to transform selection, and I'm going to expand it while holding the shift and the option keys. And what I'm going to do is bring it as close to one of the edges as possible. In this case, it's going to be the left edge. I'm not going to cross over. I'm just going to get it right up to it. Okay, looking around, it looks pretty good. I'm going to hit enter. That right there is going to be my crop. I hit the crop button. That's going to be my crop point. Hit enter. Hit enter again. And this happens sometimes. Let's get out of this. Going to go back. And go back to there. Okay. Let's go ahead and transform selection again. And let's not go as far this time. Let's say going to there. I'm going to bring. Okay, that was good that time. I think what happened is since I changed the canvas size, it was actually going outside of the canvas size and was creating a clear spot right here. So now I've gone in there. It's now 3108 by 3108. The originals were 3264 by 3264. Now in a normal case, you wouldn't have to do this. Just make sure that the camera is level and you should be fine. This is a worst case scenario type deal. And I'm just going to leave it as is. As far as I've straightened it, I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm not going to bring it up to the original size. I don't want to mess with the scale or anything. And you'll see why in a second. So now I've got this. So let's go back up to filter. Let's go to distort. Let's go to polar coordinates and hit OK. Polar to rectangular. Now you notice we've got a pretty good horizon line. There, that's fixed. Now, the reason you have to do the polar coordinates deal is because if you throw it inside of a sphere, it'll be severely distorted unless you convert the center point to up here. So right now, we have a square EXR. The length and the width are the same, a 1-to-1 ratio. And this is good if you want to apply this material to a hemisphere, but we want to make it easy on whoever we hand it off to. I mean, we want to hand it to someone as a 2-to-1 equirectangular. That way they can attach it to a full sphere and it'll get full coverage and make it, basically you're going to make it idiot proof. All they have to do is drag it and put it in their material and go. And not have to mess with anything inside to get it to look right. So how are we going to do that? Well, we got a 2-to-1. The best thing to do is let's change the image size. Now we're going to go to percent and make the width 200 because not 2000 but 200. Just this way it doesn't matter what size we end up with, it's always going to change it. So width at 200. And now we're going to hit Command T for transform. We're going to have it start anchor at the top center right here. And then here, what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out a calculator. And what we're going to have is we're going to take the camera is 210 degrees. It's 360 by 210 degrees. So 210 degrees, we need to know what percentage that is of 360. And you'll see why in a second. So 210 divided by 360 equals 0.583333 to infinity. Okay? So here on the height, and we're going to make sure it's unlocked, we're going to say it's 0.5 is going to be 58.33333. Okay, so what this represents is this, when it wraps around your head, is going to be from the left to the right, 360 degrees. And from the top to the bottom here, it's going to be 210 degrees. And then it's going to be an alpha channel underneath there. That's it. And so basically, it's a EXR. Let's just go ahead and save it. Oh yeah, apply the transformation. I forgot to do that. Closing it. Okay, so that was this one right here. So now when I go to Cinema 4D, and actually let's make it easy on myself. I got so much stuff here. I'm going to call this live or love. Okay, so got live here. That's what we just created. It's a 2-to-1 equirectangular. And we're going to go to Cinema 4D, create a new material. And then we're going to turn off color, turn on luminance, turn off reflectance, and we're going to go find live. I should have left it love. There we go. Open. Don't need that. I'm going to apply that to the sky object that I already have here, and there you go. So I have two cameras set up, one to show the bottom and one to show the top. Now, right here, you see pinching. There's a reason for that. When you're mapping a flat object to a sphere, it tends to pinch at the poles. So you're going to see this at the North Pole, which is what we're looking at, and the South Pole. There is a way to get rid of it. It took me a while to figure this out. I spent a lot of time on the web and kind of lucked up on it. Go down here to the texture sampling. And right now it's at MIP. If you change it to, let's say, none, it disappears. However, look at this. When I go to the second camera, I don't know if you can see with all the compression YouTube's going to put on it, but you got pretty bad jaggies on these edges right here because of the none. If I went back to MIP, it would disappear. So I found out, I just set it on alias 1, and that gets rid of the pinching. And The thing is there is a slight bit of pinching, actually. Let me show you. If I actually take this material and drop it onto a sphere, which is actually closer, and then hit render. And maybe I can zoom in. It's actually right here, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it'll be right there. That's it. Not much, is there? So when I hit render, there you go. And actually, I think what it is I get the interactive render region on. There you go. So any type, if I take this and turn it back to MIP, and hit render, you'll see here that it's where the pole is. That's where the distortion is. And, you know, you may not notice it, but the thing is if you do notice it and it is going to get away in a way of something that you're doing, all you have to do is just change the sampling of the texture itself. MIP and SAT tend to have the problem. If you do none, you get the jaggies. I settled on alias 1, and I'm pretty happy with that, to tell you the truth. There's just a little dot. I don't think you'll ever notice it. So I'm going to turn this off, turn the sky back on. And there you have it. That is how you get your material in there. Basically, you create the material and do everything you need in Photoshop. And then you can bring the material in Cinema 4D, and you can put it on sky objects, so you can do lighting with it, or you can put it on a sphere and do some other stuff with it. The thing is to remember, if you see the pinching at the poles, is to go in to the texture itself and change the sampling. If you like what you see, you can go to the website. I'll have the actions, the Photoshop action itself. I created a Photoshop action so that all you have to do is create the EXR in Photoshop, and then after you do that, you hit this action. It changes the everything to polar coordinates, and then it resizes it and sets up everything like I showed you and saves it out. I hope this works for you. And again, my name is Perry, and I am No One You Know. If you like this, go to my author page. You'll go to the website. There will be a link on the YouTube page to the website storytopixel.com, where you will find the action, the Photoshop action. And there's also the author page on the side for myself, No One You Know. That's the name I write under. And also my friend Robert Lagar. His author page is right next to it. He does more fantasy novels. If you like that kind of deal and you like these videos, buy a book from us and do a review on Amazon. We start at 99 cents, so it's dirt cheap. So, you know, watch a couple of videos, buy a book. That's all we ask. Thank you very much.